have to have a system in place which automatically incentivizes them. So outside of the SOPs and the price guides for an estimator and production SOPs and all that, comp plan is the ultimate system. If you set it up right, you typically don't need less management. The comp plan will take care of a lot of it. We owe them management. And in my world, I feel like you set up a good comp plan and you have regular one-on-one meetings. That is the secret sauce to making sure that's set.
Welcome to a special episode of the Elite Business Advice Podcast. My name is Chris Moore, the founder of Elite Business Advisors, your host here for the EBA podcast. We're also live on Ask a Painter today. Apparently, I am the guest host, and I'm stoked about that. I'm honored to be here doing a special edition of Ask a Painter and also Ask the Expert for our Elite Business Advice podcast. We're here in Cleveland today. We are with Sherwin-Williams out here doing the virtual business builder conference webinar that's going to happen this afternoon. And so I figured, why not take advantage of having my two good friends here with me, Michal Cheney with No Drip Painting and Nick Slavik with the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company out of Minnesota. So we had to take advantage of this. And so we put some stuff out on our social media. We sent some stuff out in our Slack channel to our clients about what questions would you want to ask Nick and Michal one-on-one here today in this episode. And it's really funny. You guys may not be able to see this. We have cameras rolling everywhere because that's just who we are here in this industry, and it's a ton of fun, and I'm excited to jump into it. So I hope it helps. Thanks for plugging in. This is the Elite Business Advice Podcast and Ask a Painter. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I'll set that mic out, whoever wants to jump in here. Michal, just tell us a little bit about yourself for anybody that doesn't know you.
Oh my goodness. Well, currently I'm sitting at the foot of the brand new Sherwin-Williams headquarters in Cleveland.
Yes.
And man, what a building. So my name is Michal Cheney. I'm the owner of No Drip Painting, where we are changing lives through paint. Yes. And I have the honor of sitting on the PCA board with this guy next to me. And I get to chair the Women in Paint Sector initiative of the PCA, which is really one of my greatest passion projects at the moment.
You're crushing
it. I'm loving every step of the way, and I'm still learning how to become a better business owner.
I love it. I love it. Mr. Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm a house painter from Minnesota. I own a painting company. I'm the host of Ask a Painter Live. I'm the current board chair of the Painting Contractors Association, which I will be handing off that later on this next year, February. I am a father of 4. I love the outdoors, and we're in tropical Cleveland today.
I love it. All right. Well, Nick, the first question's going to you, actually. I got one clipped on me.
Okay.
You're good. Yeah. So question number 1. What's the story and philosophy behind 1.1x? Everybody's seeing the shirts. They're picking up on what we're trying to subtly drop on social media and throughout the industry. What's the quick backstory behind it? How did this get birthed in when we were all together at your retreat?
Yeah, beautiful, organically at the retreat. And it's not in opposition to this Grant Cardone 10X crush it business bro thing, but it's just an alternative if that doesn't fit your personality profile, because there's many philosophies of not just hey, how do you structure your business, but how do you go about life to structure a life and a business. And there's not one right or wrong, but you have to pick one that fits your personality. And for a lot of us at the retreat, we really found that there's obviously a mix of philosophies, but 1.1x seems to fit because some of the most successful people we know do 1.1x, and they're far more successful than times in our lives. I mean, I know we've all at times have tried to 2x or 10x, something like that. And there's times in your professional career where you have to do that. It's necessary, but you can't live a life like that, at least with my personality. So yeah, it's more of do a little bit, be intentional. You will always underestimate what you can get done in a year, but you will overestimate what you can get done in a week. That's sort of the philosophy.
I love it. I love it. So, Michal, I'm going to throw this one over to you. How do you maintain, and Nick, I want your answer on this too, how do you maintain your culture and your quality during these periods of growth that Nick just kind of mentioned, whether it's 1.1x or 2 or 3x as you've gone through those stages?
Well, I first want to say I was at that retreat, and I think you might have come up with that 1.1 late at night after a few beverages. I don't know. I was asleep, so
There's
I'm not.
There's a
party barge out on the lake.
I'm
Yeah.
not.
No, it was frozen. The lake was frozen. This is January.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. We were not on a boat, just to clarify.
Yeah, no, really, culture is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, like, as I grow my business, I am now super invested in culture because I know that this thing can't get to the next level without a solid culture. So what I'll say about culture is that it certainly starts with me. And I am learning how to become a better leader.
Yep.
And, what I've discovered about the culture of my business is that in order to understand what I want that to look like, I really need to take a deep dive into who I was and what my own core values were. Because the business is, in my opinion, just amplifies who I already am. And when I kind of went through an exercise, and this was with a lot of help, a lot of coaches, a lot of therapy, let's just say, to understand really what my core values are, I have then been able to slowly implement it into the business. And I want to say slowly because years ago, when I used to watch people like Nick, I think he was the only one I found for many years, I would hear people just talk about core values and what their core values were. And I said, okay, well, now I need core values. And I remember just sitting down by myself, creating some core values. And I had a whole list of them, right?
Yeah.
I think I might have stolen some from you, Nick.
I stole from somebody else.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Nobody's came up with them organically.
Luckily,
I created a new value. In
Right. Exactly.
But the interesting thing is I had these values and they guided me for a while. But interestingly enough, in the last couple of weeks, actually when my team and I were in San Antonio at the residential event, I got to partner with Tracy Clayman, who is a presenter there, and my coach mentor, Tara Riley. And they sat down with me and my team, and we actually redeveloped our core values for where we are now.
Yep.
And so what I will say is even going through that exercise, that plays into the culture of the business now.
Yeah.
My team that was there is really invested in what we've created. We feel really strong about it. And I'll tell you what, we got emotional in that session. We really connected. And so to me, the culture starts with who I am, who my team is. It gives me a guide, a backdrop for how I'm hiring now. It gives us a guide for difficult decisions. Yeah. And so I would talk about culture from a core value standpoint because that's where I'm at right now. And I'm really invested in making sure that we can live up to these core values that we've decided. And now we want to amplify the business with the guide and the backdrop of these core values.
I love it. Nick, I'm going to go to you in a second here on that. But,
sure.
As we're talking through this, like I started working with Jeff Cornwall, AKA Maggie Kuiper's dad. And he recommended the infamous book. I'm sure you've read it, Growing Pains, which is a 415-page dissertation that will take me forever to finish getting through. Yeah, literally. Thanks for that heads up, Jeff. Yeah, he's like, read the first 3 chapters before our next meeting in 2 weeks. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I look at it and I'm like, we'll get through 2 if I'm lucky. But in that, he talks about like how as you're growing your business, you're going to evolve and change in organizationally, leadership, and I think even in core values, right? Because again, as you mentioned, Michael, in the beginning, you're sitting down doing the core values, right? Now you have a leadership team that you can sit down and redefine the core values that will take you from where you're at to where you're going to go next. And I had the same conversation with one of our clients this morning, similar size business to both of you guys. And that was exactly what we said. What got you guys here won't get you there. Right? We have to have another level of thinking, another level of culture and leadership. And sometimes it is just redefining core values as much as it is redefining systems. So, Nick, anything you want to share on that? Like, how do you maintain that culture and quality during your growth stages?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's all be upfront and honest. Sometimes you don't. Yeah. Like, I think advice. I haven't 10x'd. I've 2.3x before. Yeah. That is wild. If you've ever tried any of that stuff, I mean, that is a crazy way to live life. 2.3xing your business when you're not going from 100K to 200K, but going from 1.3 to 2.6. Like that's a wild ride. And I'll just give yourself grace. When you add a whole bunch of people and add a bunch of systems and you've never run a business that size before, it's not going to be perfect. And sometimes you're going to question everything you've ever done. And as far as culture goes, culture is sort of like the through line, the purpose of your company that will get you through it all. But you have to be careful that, as business owners, we like to make our poster of our core values and tell people what our culture is, but that's what you say it is. Yeah. There's a lot of people that will challenge you and say, what if I asked all your people? Yep. What would they say your culture is? And for our business, our culture is outside of the core values, it's standard and empathy. And culture is the way you treat other humans. And I realize that outside of, gain and maintain trust, produce, discipline equals freedom, all these core values, there's standards and there's empathy. We hold each other to the standards, but if you want 4 weeks off to take care of your ailing mother, you do it too. Yep. So it's one of those, like, that's how we treat each other is another great way to define your culture.
I love it. Do either of you guys miss like versions of the smaller size businesses you have, right?
Yes. Wait, were you finished? Oh, you had more to that?
That was so good. Elaborate on that. I mean,
well,
I feel
will
like
tell
I know
you,
where you're going to go.
There is something very appealing to me
Yep.
about this idea of lifestyle business. You know, we see some of our friends do it. Christian.
Yep.
I just did a podcast live with Nikki Ramian. And there's something very appealing about that, right? Yep. Where you don't have to manage people. And if you love to paint, you get to do that craft. Yep. And so, when I hear those things, there is a part of me that says, why am I going in the direction I am?
Yep.
And I check myself on that. Now, at the end of this, I still believe that what I'm doing is it's still what I want to do, right? I am bought into what I'm doing. But there is something very appealing about having a smaller business with less people, less customers.
Yep.
Because the cool thing that I see, especially with some of these young people coming in the industry, is that you can have a really nice, solid, cash-heavy business at $1 million, and probably even less, right?
Oh my God! We see examples at the retreat, 600K.
Yes.
People are taking home 200K, and it's a life they can be home with their kids
and that is appealing to me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we're not just saying like, oh, this is like a great idea. Like, we see it.
Oh no, it's done. It's by people we trust, and people are living this out.
Yeah. And so when I see them, I'm like, wow. If only I had knew then what I know now, maybe that would have been my course.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that is that just shows you the opportunity here. You can have what we're going to say smaller size business, but we know that's still in the top 1% of the industry.
Agreed.
And be super successful at it.
No, I think that's great. And I think, there's decision points in business. The first one to me seems to come at that 600 to 700K range, because you can sell and manage all your production, right? Have a couple good crew leads or a couple good sub crews. Have that lifestyle balance, right? The next one comes in about that 1.5 million mark, where you may have a project manager, estimator, office manager. We kind of call it the fully systematic business, because jobs can get sold, jobs can get produced, invoices get paid, and things get scheduled, and it's not revolving around you as the owner, right? That's the first time you really get true freedom in your business. You're still needed, but you get that true freedom from the day to day. And then the next decision point comes in at like 3 million, when you've doubled all that, right? And then there's kind of like that in between where you got to get it on the journey you're on, Michael, to a spot where then you are more, again, out of the day to day. So it's definitely a journey, and I was curious to hear the answer to that when somebody asked that.
Yeah, I've this last year I've had a lot of bit of deep wisdom and perspective imparted on me by all my friends in the industry, and one of them is the advent of the real lifestyle business. And we've always kind of dabbled around it. We've always seen our weird friends do it, but now it's like it is a thing, and people are not just tripping into a lifestyle business, they're intentionally doing it, which is cool. The other thinking about a smaller size business, I'm very careful, because we give a lot of advice to people who ask for it, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, we can sort of guess what their disc profile is like and what's going on, but growing a business is a complete reflection of your personality and your purpose in life and what you want to accomplish. And you need to answer the question, is this painting business the appropriate vehicle, and at what size, for you to accomplish something bigger than just grow a painting business? Because growing a painting business isn't the goal. It's something outside of it, which is, you guys have witnessed this in me. It's the hardest thing for me to admit that my purpose in life is not to paint houses, not even to run a business. It's something outside of that. But this is one hell of a vehicle to get that other purpose done. So answering that penultimate question helps. I do also miss scraping barns. So
I don't miss scraping anything, if I'm being honest. Spraying cabinets, doing some stuff, rolling out walls. I can get on board with that. Scraping anything exterior, caulking anything. I don't need splinters in my finger.
6 days straight.
Oh my gosh. And I appreciate that about you.
Yeah.
That's the true craftsperson. But No, I think that's good. And I think, I mean, as you talk about that, it's, defining what your purpose is and what you want from your business. And again, what role does your business play in your life or your bigger financial picture, right? I know we talked at the retreat, Nick. I know you have some real estate and different things too that you use the profits from the painting company to reinvest and build a bigger kind of
diversified portfolio.
Exactly, right? Like, and so for you, it's like, you view your painting business as that vehicle, not the end all purpose. And I know you and I've had some conversations about that on a personal
and it all
level.
ends up being a passion.
Right.
Then,
It does.
And the whole thing, not just one little, I like priming this. It's like, no, I like my painting business. I like Ask a Painter. I like the real estate. I like the PCA. I like, it's all together. Then it becomes a super passion.
Yep, exactly. So, Michael, I want you to elaborate a little bit kind of on this journey that you've been on the last year and a half since we've gotten to know each other. Of you stepped into the sales manager role, really defined that position, hired that position out with Dan. Then you stepped into ops role for a little bit as an operations manager and really defined that, and recently promoted Katie into that role here recently. So I don't want to tell the whole story there, but like, just kind of elaborate anything you want to share on that. And then also, like, what's one thing you've learned in putting these managers in place, and maybe focus on sales since you've, had the most time with that this year?
Yeah, so I'm doing this because I understand my end goal, right? And I will tell you, probably about 3 years ago, I was actually at a point where I didn't really think I wanted to grow.
Yeah.
I was starting to see people who were having smaller businesses and who were super efficient and making a good life for themselves. But I'm going to tell you really what happened is I got involved with Women in Paint, and I saw women who were doing this. And I said, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got a little more focused on what I wanted my life to look like.
That's cool.
And so that's why I've decided to grow this business. And you're exactly right. It was me running sales, running operations. And the first thing I wanted to replace was sales. I knew I needed someone who really knew sales. I had gotten us to where we got, and that was great. But it was time for like a real expert. So I brought Dan in, and now we've got a more formalized sales system structure, right? We've got all the things. And then I moved over to production. I created the structure in there. I'm pretty good at creating structure and processes, so it's been enjoyable for me. But also, I don't have a passion for production. That's not my jam, right?
Yeah.
So Katie's now filling that role, and really what I believe about the both of them is that they can do those roles way better than I ever could. So now I'm over marketing, creating the structure, the systems. I'm not an expert at marketing. I listen to people who have had success, and I just do what they do, right? And so the next job is to find someone that can take over marketing. And I'm doing that again because, one, I understand what I love about the business, which is more the visionary piece. And I do have some passion towards some of the structure and processes, which I'm getting to do. But that's the path that I've taken. And so far I'm enjoying it. And it's stretching me as a person, stretching me as a leader. I have gotten a few more gray hairs and things like that along the way too. But look how well Nick rocks his gray hairs.
You guys look great.
You know what I'm saying?
Apparently I have a few
Over the
too.
last 2
So
years, it has migrated from here to here and it's filled out mainly because of stress.
No, I get that.
So it's just part of it. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I have big goals here. My team is bought into it, and we're gonna keep crushing it.
I love it. Well, we had a conversation yesterday that, to piggyback on the first thought here, about belief in yourself, right? And I think that's why the PCA is so important to all of us, right? Your talk 2 years ago about PCA building you hit me hard because PCA has built us as a company, and I know it's helped with you, Michael. And I think there's hundreds of people, if not close to 1,000 at this point, that could say the same. And so we talked about, like, you have to believe in yourself and you have to get around people. And I think that's the best thing about PCA and Women in Paint and all these different, kind of subsectors that are being formed in the PCA, is it gives us that belief, right? That if they can do it, I can do it, right? But I appreciate the way that you've gone through. The main point I want to make on this is like the way you've gone through and done this, because I see way too many people say, well, we need a sales manager. They hire a sales manager and they just throw them into this role with no structure, with no guidance. And there's a great book called Who Not How out there that can help you discern between that, right? But I think you've like intentionally built the structure in the way that you want it to be. And then you empower Dan to come in and redo it. Right. And that's, I think, the difference between how you're on this journey versus how I see a lot of people do it is they just hire and delegate and they just go. and then it doesn't go well. And then they're like, well, what the heck's going on? Or why isn't this working? It's like, well, you didn't give the structure to then allow them to go empower and do the right things they needed to do. So I applaud you for the way you've done that on your journey. So,
But Chris, that's only because I did it the wrong way for a long
that's
time.
okay though, right? Sometimes we got to learn the hard way. Yeah.
And I did used to throw people in, and
Yeah.
it didn't really go that well, it turns out.
It's a necessary hero's journey for all of us to do a whole bunch of crap wrong, because you're always going to
Yep.
test it. You're always going to grab that wire.
Well, and I tell a lot of our clients too, sometimes you need to go through that first hire and turn it over, or second or third.
Or 30 seconds.
Yeah, or whatever, before you finally go, oh, okay, now I see how this should be done. And again, sometimes you honestly don't know until you do it.
Most
Right.
of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, Nick, I want you to elaborate a little bit on how you're viewing your business in 2 6-month segments. We've had some discussions about this when we were in San Antonio a little bit yesterday in the truck. How are you viewing your company in these kind of 2 6-month segments, and what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so we're not getting any more seasonal, but when we grow the company, we found that organically we were growing more in the exterior subcontracting part than we were. Like, we always have the same amount of W-2s. We add a whole bunch of seasonal W-2s, my college and high school kids and teachers,
Yep.
and then a whole bunch more subcontracting just because demand goes up. So I was challenged to treat my business like 2 businesses, which is a 6-month, $1 million business unit in the winter, and a 6-month, $2.5 million business unit in the summer.
Love
and they
it.
are just different. There's different marketing strategies. There's different rhythms to the day, the week, the month. And we'll end up going from 7 to 9 jobs completed a week in the winter to 22 to 24 in the summer, with everybody just running around like crazy. So it's been really interesting to then craft a marketing plan, because there's 2 kind of strategies where it's not cut costs, batten down the hatches, go to the mattresses in the winter.
Yep.
But it's not market expansion at that point. It's market penetration. So we do want to save every cost we can, but we still have to bring jobs in. And then in summer, when a lot more is happening, you can do all your marketing experiments and all that other stuff. And then you want to reduce all the stress in your humans so that we can execute really hard for 6 months of the year, spend the 6 months in winter to prepare for that 6 months.
Yep,
So,
I think it's good. But I think everybody kind of knows there's like the seasonality of the business, but I think the way that you're just looking at it in 2 very structured components, with 2 completely different defined goals, is key to it. And I think obviously, the way you can compartmentalize things is why you've been so successful through this.
well, and it's been a hybrid thing. I've learned from a lot of other people too, and I learned from the extremes, which is I was the extreme, 1 person or 2 people doing the same amount of production every week of the year.
Yep.
And so when I grew my business, I was like, we want to make $1 million divided by 52. There you go. That's not how it works
No.
when you grab a bunch of people.
No.
So I learned from the extremes of single owner Nick, but also Jason Paris,
Yep.
which is, in the advent of their business, they're doing $5, $6, $7 million in like 5.5 months of the year. So you look at what their benchmarks are.
Yep.
They can't do a standard 10 to 15 net profit in the summer. They need to have a 28% net profit because they carry their leadership team. So there's
Yep.
a similar structure where you could make the argument that once you get past $2, $3, $4 million, you may, in order to keep your leadership team intact in the upper parts of the country, you may have a break-even strategy, or don't lose that much strategy for winter, so that if you go negative 5% net profit, which has been the case in some of the years of growing in the winter, then you got to bust out a 27.5% net profit in the summer, and then it equals 12.5% net
Yep.
profit at the end of the year. So 2 weird different strategies, but like you said, every year that changes and grows because the business isn't the same every year.
Yep. And again, when you're at the 600K, and not that winter's not a reality, but the pressure is different, right? Because you
Way
typically
different.
don't have the leadership. And so looking at it and like, hey, here's our goal. And even how do we build up our cushion enough by this time of year, November 1, December 1, to where we can afford to leak out a little bit for a few months. And we know that's the case, and it's okay, right? Like, it's still not ideal. But I think, at some point, how much do you spend in marketing just to try to break even versus just take a little bit of a loss and use that time to rest, use that time to build, to prepare for that next 6 months and just make up for it.
But also setting expectations, which is like, when I started my company, I was like, everybody gets 40 hours a week no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't care for 4 months. We don't have any work. I'm paying you
Yeah.
because I care about you. Guess what? That's just, the intent is great.
Yeah.
It's not better for
Because you're a
anybody.
good human being.
It's
but
not better for anybody.
Right.
In the end, just not how humans react.
Yep.
So setting expectations is a big thing. And over the last bunch of years, it's more been like, guys, listen, whether we all like it or not, we are in a seasonal business. Now, we may only be 60-40 summer, but there is not one week where I don't update every single human in my company by saying, it would behoove of you to get as many hours in at this time of the year. I'm not laying you off. You may only go down to 37 and a half hours a week in December and January. But either way, when you ask for as many hours as you want in June, you can work 110 hours a week. It doesn't matter. If you ask for 80 hours a week in December, might be a little harder, but setting that expectation is a good thing, and that's okay to do.
Yep. When I think having the emotional expectation for yourself financially with that, again, a lot of people say like, oh my gosh, we can't lose money in the wintertime. And it's like, yeah, again, not ideal, but okay if it's part of your plan and strategy, right? If you're really just ballooning up and crushing it in that other 6-month stretch, it's okay to be part of the strategy. And some people just see the negative and they freak out. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And they start laying people off and cutting everything. It's like, okay, hold on. That's part of it if you're financially positioned to weather it. And so I think having the expectations with your team, but also having the emotional expectations with yourself about what is your business strategy. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. They don't have a business strategy. They don't have a plan in place.
This gets into a tough financial area because the average paint business lasts 18 months. And the problem is, in order to see if you're actually good at this, you need 24 months. You need 2 of those cycles, because let's say you build your team, get some people, and you lose some money in a winter, but then you break even or even maybe go backwards in the summer a little bit. But you say, oh, the spark's here, our processes are there, we just need one more year. You have to have the financial and emotional wherewithal to take it through one more winter where you already start in a hole. You probably dip into your own personal finances or LOC, and then you go again. But I would make the argument that in 4 seasonal cycles, winter, summer, if you're not seeing that break even 28% net profit sort of pattern, that you need to change, the pattern need to change, the strategy needs to change. But you can't go more than 24 months, but most businesses don't even get the chance to do that.
That's a good point. Michael, I'll let you answer first on this one. How do you guys navigate that in wintertime? Do you kind of reduce down everybody's hours a little bit if you need to? Do you lay people off directly? Because that's a question we get a lot, and something somebody asks is like, how do you guys navigate that? As you mentioned, from 40 to 37, do you take that approach more so, or do you just say, nope, we just need to cut one person, keep everybody's 40?
Yeah, well, this is the advantage, I think, of having an employee submodel. Okay.
A hybrid.
Now, as we grow, I do think for us and our goal is we need to grow with employees. So over the next couple of years, we're going to be having more employee painters, and then really probably just bring subs on during the exterior season when needed. So because we've got the subcontractor model in there, that alleviates a lot of the pressure. I'm happy to say for the last couple of years, we've really kept our employee painters busy throughout the winter. So that's a huge win, because I can't tell you how many times we've painted my mom's house or office walls to
so many coats.
To keep. I mean, that shop is clean in the winter. I'll tell you, every sprayer
on those walls.
Every sprayer has not one drop of paint on it. But no, I mean, you do what you have to do. But now we're fortunate enough where we can plan, we can save money, just like Nick was talking about, and so the goal this year is we're keeping all of our employees busy, but it helps because we've got the sub model. And we talked about other type of models. I mean, if you had a full sub model and you're living in Ohio and you can't do exteriors, well, you could potentially take the whole winter off. And when we talk about lifestyle businesses, that's the kind of stuff that's appealing to me. But yeah, we do strategically, we have the subs there. And one of the reason is because of that dark quarter that people call it. But as we're growing, I'm going to have a better plan. Like even what Nick was just talking about, where, you really try and get your net up high in those that peak season, that can give you some leverage in the winter.
That's good.
So I will say that although I set proper expectations, we've done a similar thing where honestly, if you look at, you take all my W-2 employees and divide all their hours for the year by 52. I mean, my guys probably average 38 or 39 hours. So there's already, and that's by their choice, not by mine. We have an unlimited overtime policy. We have for almost 18 years. And yes, people are taking advantage of it, even more so now that there is no tax on overtime that they can claim. But I will say that the problem is not finding work for my people and getting them 40. The problem is I could use a lot more hours out of my people. But also, again, remember standards and empathy. Like, we respect our people's family time, and we'll backfill with subcontractors.
No, that's great. We got a couple questions here as we wrap up. Number one, You talked about standards, right? And having standards, and I think that's something both of you guys have done very well, is you have standards and expectations within your company. How do you follow through on that with people, right? It's one thing to tell a sales manager, an estimator, a PM, or even a painter, right? Here's the expectation. But then there's the other half of it that is the follow through. And this is something I see a lot of people struggle with. Any words of advice or how you guys kind of handle that in your day-to-day business?
You're looking at me. So the first piece of that puzzle is to have clear goals,
Yes.
expectations,
Yep.
right? So we have KPIs for every position.
Yep.
And the expectation is that you're here to hit those KPIs. And so there's no confusion about that. And then we have tools in place, like for our sales reps, we have a dashboard, and that dashboard, every day they can get in there and they can see where they are for the week, for the month. They also can see where they're at with their commission bonus, right? Which is a great incentive. But it's having the information right in front of them. They understand what the goals are. And then, from there, if someone isn't meeting the goals, I like to look at it first through the lens of coaching and leadership.
Yep.
What do we need to do to help them achieve the goal? And here's what it looks like for a sales rep. If a sales rep isn't hitting their numbers, then thankfully I have a sales manager now, but we're going to go shadow them.
Yep.
We're going to monitor the appointment. We're going to go with them. We have a whole structure on how we do that. Meaning, I'll just throw an example out there. I have some female sales reps and male sales reps, but it's important if Dan goes to monitor my female sales rep, I want him standing in the background.
Yeah.
I don't want the customer thinking that Dan's running the show, right?
Yep.
Gabby's running the show,
Yep.
right? But we will coach and lead. We are going to go shadow that. We've also adopted this thing that we're doing, and I really like it. This was Dan's idea. We will do weekly call blitzes. He will do one-on-one call blitzes. He will bring the sales rep in. They will sit together and they will do all of their follow-ups together.
That's cool.
So it helps with objection handling because right there, he's there to help with that. He's there to give feedback. But those are just tools that we have. And then, honestly, if someone isn't meeting their goals and we've done all of that, then we start questioning if it's the right person. We have a plan. Once someone's with us for 90 days, if they're not hitting our expected sales number, then they go on a performance plan, right?
Love it.
And the idea from a coaching and standpoint that we are really leaning into is that, after 90 days, if we put someone on a performance plan and they still don't hit the numbers that fourth month, then we as the leader need to feel good about the way we led and the way we coached.
Yep.
So that if we have to let them go, we aren't saying to ourselves, I should have done more.
Yep.
To me, that's the worst part of it. If I have to say, well, I didn't do enough and that's why they failed. So we want to set them up for success. We've got tools to do it, but ultimately they own the goal, they own the position, and we want that, right? We want them to rise up, hit the goals. We expect a lot out of them, and I believe that that's one of the biggest compliments you can give someone is to have high expectations of them.
Yep. That's great.
Question once more, just to make sure I'm.
Yeah. How do you navigate following through on the standards and expectations you have on your people?
Sure. Yeah. So pretty easy, which is, sorry, I didn't mean to set that in front of you. I'll just hold on
Yeah,
to this.
there's no.
Never mind.
I'll put
This
it
is
on
actually one of the best coffees I've ever had in my life. So I think there's the system side and then the management side. And I think they have to come together, which is, I'm basically going to synthesize everything you said. You're an awesome leader, which is you have to have a system in place which automatically incentivizes them. So outside of the SOPs and the price guides for an estimator and production SOPs and all that, comp plan is the ultimate system. Yep. If you set it up right, you typically don't need less management. The comp plan will take care of a lot of it. But like Michael said, we owe them management. We owe them, and in my world, I feel like you set up a good comp plan and you have regular one-on-one meetings. That is the secret sauce to making sure that's set, because we love light switch stuff. You either did it or you didn't. It's easy to discern. But also, as business owners and managers, we owe them support. And I think this is, I'm trying to come up with a topic for my PCA talk, and I literally think when I look at the industry, I think the problem that we've all experienced in business is great technicians, great leaders, complete dearth of management. Like there's not one-on-one meetings, office hours, like all that boring stuff that visionaries hate to do. Our industry is bereft of it.
Yep.
And I saw it in my own business. So it's that one-on-one meeting interval where you listen, you ask questions, you support, things like that. And that is the other side to the comp plan. And I believe that secret sauce is those two things together. that gets the standards. Because you just saying, here's the standard, go do it or else, is not the kind of businesses we want to run.
I love that. Dan Martell said something one time. I'm a big fan of his, and he said, you can't ever blame the people until the processes are so solid that it's an obvious people problem. And I think that's something that a lot of people, especially as I see in the painting industry, and I know you guys see as we're all out in the industry as well, is people are like, well, it's just, like the person's just not doing their job. I'm like, okay, have you communicated what you expect of them? Oh, do you have a process in place to track it? Do you have a weekly one-on-one meeting?
When's the last time you sat down with them?
Right, exactly. Like, do you have any of these things in place? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, that's fine. That's a fair assessment. But until we do all these things and we actually have data to look at, and we have a process to track it, and we have a weekly one-on-one where we sit down and do it, or we do the call blitzes, we can't really say the person's not the right fit. And when you said that, Michael, it made me think of kind of that philosophy from him is like, when you said, like, when we go through and we do all of these things, and if they're still not hitting our expectations, then it's pretty obvious it's a people problem.
This is a scientific experiment. Like, the human is that one variable you're putting in. You want to control every other variable to see if it's actually them that's the stimuli that changes the outcome of the experiment.
Yep. And that's exactly it. So I think we have to make sure our processes are set to where then we can properly evaluate the people. But beyond that. So, well, guys, this has been fun. We could do this all day, honestly, but we do have to get going at some point. We're going to do this, right? And so, this is just like our practice. Like, we're getting ready for today. We'll just tell Dan, like, we don't even need to do it another run through.
Now I'm all out of answers.
Yeah, we'll have to go get some more coffee, I guess. I didn't ask any of the questions I know that are coming later today, but I know we've got some exciting events coming up this afternoon for everybody on Ask a Painter Live. We have our virtual business builder conference with Sherwin-Williams.
Link in the show notes.
I was going to say, I'm sure you got a link somewhere. If not, it's all over all of our social medias from the last few days. And then we also have the upcoming Women in Paint event. Michael, you want to talk briefly about that coming up in Nashville?
Yeah, I would love to. So Women in Paint is October 27th through October 30th in Nashville. There cannot be a better place for this.
Nope.
We've got the coolest things happening, including a self-defense class.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Do Nick and I get to come to that? Or
I feel like I'm the dummy.
I know.
Okay, perfect.
Wait, I think I actually may not come.
So,
now.
ladies, Chris and Nick are the dummies, so we get to beat up on them.
Gut punches up the
Listen, I'll take it. If we sell 20 more tickets because of that, I'll actually take that.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing
Maybe.
really cool events. The content, I'm super excited about it. Every year it gets stronger, but it's a space where women can come, they can get inspired, just like I did at the very first Women in Paint event. And it's a place where we can support, inspire, motivate each other, and really it's a safe space. And if you haven't been to an event, you need to attend one. It has changed the way I think, the way I operate. It has helped me. You talked about even mindset a little bit earlier with believing in yourself. And so I would encourage you to join. And it's well worth it. And I like to say, bet on yourself. When we look at these events, we look at the price. But just like we don't want our customers looking at the price, we want them to look at the value. You need to look at the value of what these events can do for you, for your business, and it'll help you create a community that you might not have.
Yep, I love it. That's great. I'm excited to be there. I appreciate the invite to come support. I know you're going to be there as well. At least we'll be able to understand the presentations compared to Espanol. You and I felt pretty useless, and we couldn't even understand what was being said.
I saw gross profit up there in material and
Agreed.
labor. I was getting the
Yeah,
gist
you
of
were getting it.
Somebody
It was
talking
good.
about job costs.
You did learn what gross profit is in Spanish, but I'm not going to ask you to repeat that. So we've got that coming up. We've got the commercial conference November 17th through the 20th, I believe, or 18th through the 21st. I don't have that one memorized. Amazing event coming up for that. I look forward to hanging out with you guys there. Nick, anything else you want to promo on your end? Anything else coming up?
No, that's it, man. In the Ask a Painter show notes, I got all the PCA stuff in there. The scholarships, if they're still haven't been used up yet, all the PCA events and everything else going on there. Free membership for veterans, all that good stuff. So take advantage of it, guys. This is like the hack in the industry, and it's easy for us to say we're all here, we all believe in it, but I don't know, man. Just do it already.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, guys, this has been a ton of fun. I appreciate you making some time this morning to do this. And we get to go keep this rolling this afternoon. So plug in today to the online virtual business builder conference. And if you're listening to this on the Elite Business Advice podcast, go back. It will be on YouTube, on Sherwin-Williams' channel here in the coming month. So thanks for doing this, guys. Thanks for plugging into this week's episode. I hope you're able to take a few nuggets away from it to implement into your business. Remember, knowledge without implementation is useless. If you're curious about what we do and how we help painting contractors all over North America, schedule a free business analysis meeting with us at www.elitebusinessadvisors.com. Our entire team of advisors have ran and managed painting companies just like myself and are here to help support you on your journey. We have packages available for contractors at every stage of business, from flying solo and just starting out, all the way to multi-million-dollar businesses. And lastly, if you loved this episode, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps others on the platform find our podcast, and it could be the best blessing that's ever happened to them thanks to you. Thanks for plugging in, and we'll see you back for next week's episode.